Existentialism refers to the essential difficulties we face as human beings and our desire to live an authentic life in spite of these difficulties or absurdities. It consists of four major tenets: death, meaninglessness, isolation, and freedom. Because we know that we are humans and we exist, argues Breitbart, we feel an existential and biological imperative to somehow respond to the fact of our existence or a responsibility to create a life. Breitbart's account is limited to creating a life for oneself, striving for your goals, living a unique and authentic life, finding meaning in your life, and so on. It is limited to the things that people do for self-fulfillment. One of the ways in which people find meaning in life is through creating art. So we have to ask ourselves, what happens when we externalize this need to create a unique life by creating pockets or signs of life in the medium or format of art? The problem with existentialism is that it does not tell us how the life that has been created in the form of art looks back at its creator. Take an example of this clip of Pinocchio where everyone has an opportunity to give their opinion on the viability or suitability of the name Pinocchio, but the only one who doesn't get to share their opinion is Pinocchio itself. The opinion on the name that belongs to Geppetto is attributed to the puppet without its own input.
Now I have just a name for you. Pinocchio. Do you like it, Figaro? No? You do, don't you, Cleo? Well, we'll leave it to Little Woodenhead. Do you like it? That settles it. Pinocchio it is.
Put differently, it doesn't ask, how does the painting feel about the artist who made it? But SpongeBob does. Frankendoodle begins with us focused on a real human artist drawing something on a page in a boat. When their pencil falls inside the ocean, they feel a deep sense of sadness over the loss because they did not bring a spare one. Meanwhile, at the bottom of the ocean, SpongeBob and Patrick are playing a game of bubble rock paper scissors. SpongeBob beats Patrick because scissors beats paper, and then after that they both choose paper and SpongeBob asks Patrick,
Patrick, how come you always do paper?
put a pin on that. Just then, the pencil which the artist dropped in the ocean pierces through the bubble papers and lands in front of SpongeBob and Patrick, who both immediately respond with panic. SpongeBob doesn't stop immediately panicking, but importantly, Patrick takes a moment to look at the pencil for some reason when SpongeBob is off screen, only resuming with his panic when SpongeBob is back in frame. Like I said, put a pin on that. They eventually stop panicking and decide to just use the pencil. SpongeBob begins by drawing a jellyfish, which Patrick critiques.
Pretty good, SpongeBob, but it's lacking basic construction, and your perspective leaves a lot to be desired.
The drawing literally comes to life.
SpongeBob, your drawing's coming to life.
Now that's more like it, Mr. Critic.
No, I mean it's swimming away.
They then draw a mustache, which briefly turns into Squidward's hair. They also draw Squidward and immediately erase him, and then draw some money to trick Squidward. Wow, I'm seeing that I'm not using any pronouns. Okay, Squidward gets tricked, losing both the money and the hair. What a comment on greed and easy come, easy go.
Life is good. Easy come, easy go.
The next thing SpongeBob creates is himself, a violent, misshapen creature who steals the pencil and runs away with it. Interestingly, the only harm that DoodleBob creates is to SpongeBob, Squidward, and Patrick. Other than that, it simply created a house and makes play with the tool that created it. Saying that I brought you into this world and now I'm gonna take you out of it, SpongeBob erases DoodleBob, but forgets to erase his hand. While erasing him, however, SpongeBob closes his eyes as if he's too scared to confront his creation and the fact that he's actively destroying it. He then screams in a way that is not dissimilar from DoodleBob when he was about to begin his little stint in terror.
Take it easy, it's just a drawing.
Eventually, DoodleBob's hand comes along, redraws himself, and suddenly equipped with the capacity to speak, says to SpongeBob, "You doodle, me SpongeBob." He erases part of SpongeBob, they break the pencil in half, and SpongeBob ends up redrawing himself. SpongeBob learns that DoodleBob has the upper hand over him so long as they have a battle reliant on the pencil. But then DoodleBob steps on a piece of paper and returns to a mere 2D image flat in the 3D universe of SpongeBob within the TV medium. SpongeBob then acknowledges that DoodleBob was not evil, but simply a 2D creature looking for purpose it would not be able to find in their world because it originated in a different medium.
It's the evil Doodle!
No, not evil. He was just a two-dimensional creature, lost in our three-dimensional aquatic world, longing for a purpose.
SpongeBob and Patrick, understanding that they too have encountered a, for present purpose, 4D magical pencil, something that they, as 3D aquatic creatures, cannot deal with, send it back to the sky. The artist gets his pencil back, but still cannot draw anything because he forgot to bring a sharpener, and so he once again is plunged into a state of despair. In one of my previous videos, I mentioned the very popular phrase, "the medium is the message," which was coined by Marshall McLuhan in Understanding Media. Since then, I've been slugging through the book against my better judgment. That book is really awfully written, and the arguments in there are confused at best and completely nonsensical for the most part. But there are a few moments here and there that make sense, and one of them is the idea that developments in media change how people relate with each other, the speed with which we interact, and us understanding the key trait of a medium will help us to better understand how we transform society. McLuhan says that we should look at a light bulb in and of itself as some sort of message which we should analyze by looking at the light bulb in relation to, say, a candle or a fire and say, what message inheres in you, O great orb? It gets very trippy. But the point is that by looking at SpongeBob, we get to ask ourselves, where does media start and where do we begin? Put differently, is the fact of being human not a message itself? Does the fact that we go around creating things that are distinct from us not amount to one media merely creating another? Where does existence begin and where does it end? In which direction does existential guilt go? According to Existentialist, when we fail to create a life we desire, we feel existential guilt. The notion that I could have done more and that I missed the opportunities or failed in some ways. Existential guilt arises when one is distracted from or impeded from exerting one's will and responsibility in living up to one's unique potential. In SpongeBob's case, he created a life he did not desire. Both DoodleBob and the new decorations he makes in his house are not things he actually wanted to have, and they do not add uniqueness to his life. In truth, we know that SpongeBob is quite happy with the life he lives, the work he does, and the friend he has. But he created a life, and the life he has created looks upon him demanding an answer to the question he does not know how to ask. Why did you bring me into existence? It is running around, pencil in both hands, trying to create itself, trying to become SpongeBob, trying to make meaning of and sculpt its own unique life, but it is impeded from doing so by its creator. While SpongeBob, the primary liver, gets to go about enjoying existential remorselessness, DoodleBob was content with his own feelings of guilt, but cannot even begin to do so because in the eyes of its creator, it does not even exist. The added layer of the pencil, of course, is the meta-awareness that SpongeBob and Patrick are creations of artists themselves, which is why the artist's pencil creates life in their realm, but a pencil originating there wouldn't. I think it goes without saying that the characters and world of SpongeBob SquarePants have developed a life of their own. They live and breathe in every corner of the internet, in memes, in video essays, everywhere. How do SpongeBob and Patrick and Squidward and Mr. Krabs and Sandy and everyone else respond to the people who created them? Do they have the chance to do so? How would they do so? Who would attribute their real meanings and intentions to them when they can't autonomously mumble what they want, or at least poke a stick around independently as they try to figure out what they will and will not do next? The point is that this particular episode of SpongeBob SquarePants does a really good job of both encompassing and to a certain extent subverting the dominant idea of what it means to experience existential guilt, to look at what you have created and go. But what is very noteworthy is that when SpongeBob saw what his creation was capable of, not when it was idle or trying to imitate that which already existed, but when it was actively trying to destroy him and the people around him, he joined forces with his friends and yeeted the cause of the chaos back into the sky. Do with that analogy what you will. Now remember that pin I asked you to put on it? In this episode, Patrick functions as a sort of externalization of existentialism. It is SpongeBob who creates the horrors, but Patrick suffers, similar in a way to how an AI CEO created the horrors, but those dastardly humans who need water to survive like stupid idiots are the ones who must suffer. But at the beginning of the episode, we learned that Patrick kept playing paper in that game. Why? Because he feels the need to create. He decided pencil so that he could create something on paper. But when a pencil does come along and SpongeBob uses it to write on sand as opposed to paper, his reaction is to critique instead of fashioning another piece of paper to make his own art. The thing he does create, the imitation of Squidward, is immediately destroyed and causes no one any real pain. They get to enjoy it for a while acknowledge the danger it poses, and destroy it before it creates any real horror. In this way, Patrick reminds us of the importance of ephemeral art. For much of human history, people have been concerned with creating art that they knew wouldn't last forever. But in the present day, largely because we're living in a Eurocentric, superordinate telos, to borrow Sylvia Winter's words, we are very concerned with the idea of permanence, as proof that we lived, that we existed, because we created something. The issue with this, of course, especially in this AI world we're living in, is that we don't know what kinds of permanent horrors we're creating because we feel existential guilt. We can look outside and study the graphs to see what permanent climatic horrors abound because of this guilt. But what will happen when other people's creations look at us, bumbling and incoherent, parroting what they've been fed, and possibly developing a form of consciousness, and ask us, why did you bring me into existence? How do I feel about you, human, who didn't bring me into existence but have played with the papers too? And scarily enough, I am SpongeBob, you are Doodle. Will we be able to erase the horrors or revert them to an older medium and throw away the magic pencil? Or will we find ourselves erased instead, doomed to suffer from the horrors we did not create?